Welcome back, kids. It's so good to be back with you today. In today's video, I'm going to teach you a couple of things I've never covered before in a video. We're going to learn half-lap joinery on the CNC and also how to chamfer the edge of your project with the CNC. Never did that before. So y'all stick around, go grab your bag of popcorn. Let's go learn something. All right, I'm in VCarve Pro. This is my project for the day. I'm making this memorial cross. It's going to be 48 inches tall and 30 inches wide. I am not going to assemble it first. I'm going to cut each piece separately. So let's just move on over here. And here you'll see the vertical piece. And this is the horizontal piece. And these will be made separately, just for simplicity's sake. So first thing we're going to do is this vertical piece. And the only thing it's going to have on it that's going to be carved with the CNC is the gentleman's nickname, which was OG. You'll see it's got a razorback up here, but that's going to be put on there with my laser. It's too small and too detailed to get a good carve, even with a 30-degree groovy Jenny. According to the rendering here on VCarve Pro, it just was not going to look right. So I'm confident that I can make it look perfect with my laser. So that's what I'm going to do. I've just kind of got it shown on there as a placeholder so we can kind of get a good look and good idea of what we're doing here. The only other thing that we're going to do with this vertical piece, we're going to cut this pocket here. And the reason we're doing that is because we're going to join these two pieces with half lap. The boards here are roughly 0.6 thickness. So my depth that I'm going to have to cut this pocket is roughly going to be 0.3. That way, when I join them together, they still equal the 0.6, but I will fine tune that as we go. So let's look at the tool path over here. First one I got is the OG. I'm just going to cut it with a 60-degree groovy Jenny, no flat depth. That's pretty straightforward. I'm going to calculate that just so we can look at it. Reset preview, preview that, selected. And let me zoom in here. And you can see it is going to be a proper V-cut, V-carve. It's got that sharp V at the bottom of the letters there. And the reason it's doing that is because we are not setting a flat depth. We're just going to let that 60-degree bit carve as deep as it needs to go to create the width of lines that you see there. So ever how wide that is, that's how deep the bit's going to go to make that happen. All right, so let's go back to our 2D view. And now let's look at our pocket. And I'm just calling this the vertical pocket since it's on the vertical piece here. Let me close that. V pocket right here. All right. As I said, at the pocket cut, I'm cutting 0.3 depth. I'm using a 1/4 inch downtown Jenny. And I'm going to do it in 3 passes. So I'll be doing 0.1 per pass. So let's just calculate that. Reset everything. Let's just preview that vertical pocket, and I'll zoom in here so you can kind of see what we got. You can see it's just cutting that out. And then the horizontal piece will also be pocketed out like that to make 2 half laps to make the full half lap joint. And it's just going to lay right inside there. And hopefully I won't have a gap at all. I'm going to kind of sneak up on the correct width of these pockets here. So let's get on over to the machine and I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut the OG and the pocket there. And then we'll come back later when we finish that and address the horizontal piece over here. All right. I've already set my X, Y, and Z. I've just loaded my 60-degree groovy Jenny. Cycle start. the vertical pocket for the half lap. All right, we'll load the 1/4 inch downtown uni. Rewind, cycle start. All right, this is the moment of truth. See how close we are. I intentionally cut it a little narrower than I thought I needed to, because I do not want to I don't want to cut it too big. So I'm just going to sneak up on it. I'll bring you around here and let you see how close we are. All right, we are that close. All right, just checked it. Now it fits in there just almost perfect. But now, time to cut this horizontal piece. All right, so this is the vertical piece that we just cut. There's half of our half lap joint. What I have to do is figure out how deep I need to cut the half lap into this horizontal piece. So to do that, all I got to do is measure the height from the top of this board to the top of the horizontal piece. Whatever that is, that's how deep the gap needs to be right here. So let me measure that. Measure it a few times, make sure. 295, 294. So we're looking at that right there. All right, we're back in VCarve Pro, and we're going to look at the pocket toolpath for the half lap on the horizontal piece here. So I've got this toolpath opened up here. We'll be cutting to a depth of 0.294 as we measured earlier, using the 1/4 inch downtown Junie, doing it in 3 passes, and we'll be running it in the raster direction. All right, but one thing you need to think about when you're running a raster, like in an unusual case like this, a raster is going to have that bit running back and forth like this normally. Well, let's run a quick preview of that, and I'll show you what we need to avoid. So reset to preview. Go to preview toolpath. And you see how it's got these little roughies here, because that's where it's stopping and turning around. Well, that's not real smooth, and we need this line to be very smooth. So in order to assure that we can do that, let's go back inside the toolpath. we need to change the direction of the raster, and we can do that right here. Right now, the default is set to 0, which means it will always go, left to right, horizontal raster. But we can change that to a 90, so it'll cut it vertically. So let's calculate that and reset it. And now let's watch that, and we'll see how clean this edge is over here. No jagged edges. And what we did, we put the jagged edges out here to the outside in open space. So by running it vertically this time, we get a much cleaner cut. So that's just something to think about on your raster. And I believe this is the first time I've ever had to do that in an actual project. So anyway, so I'm going to save this and we're going to send it over to the machine. And let's go over there and cut that pocket. Rewind, cycle start. One thing I forgot to mention in the VCarve segment is the dimensions of the pocket that we're cutting here. In both cases, on the vertical and the horizontal, I made that box 5 inches by 4 inches. And I did the 5-inch so that the bit would be able to get on the outside of the board before it stopped and changed direction and came back. That way it just keeps it a lot more clean on the edge of that board. All right, measure what I got there. 0.2935. Let's try it again. 0.292293. So we're going to be so close there. See what we got. Yes, a hair more. I cut it. 3.99 width. This measures out at 4, so I'm going to go ahead and increase that width to 4 inches even and finish this thing. Try it again. Look at there. Whoop, whoop. All right, so the width is perfect. Whoop, whoop. I'm going to live with that right there. I can sand that a little bit, make that smooth as it can be. So now I got to flip this over and we're going to carve the front side. Then we can start putting this thing together. All right, I'm back in VCarve Pro. We finished the pocket here on the horizontal piece. So I'm just going to move all of that up here. And then I'm going to replace it with our name and dates. So I'm just going to highlight all that, go up here to the alignment tool, align to material right in the center. Boom. All right, close. All right, so now let me zoom in here and we'll take a look at these tool paths. So we got the name here, and this is just a simple V-carve. You can see up here I'm using the 90-degree groovy Jenny. No flat depth, and that's why I get that nice clean V notch in the bottom of those carves. Nothing else tricky. So just going to calculate that. Reset it and preview that one. Now, you see what I'm talking about? How clean that is in there? That is your classic VCarve look right there. All right, now let's go back to 2D, and we got to do our dates. So let's bring those up. This one, I'm using the 60-degree groovy Jenny. Since they're smaller, I was afraid the 90-degree wouldn't go in deep enough. So I did a 60-degree, and that worked out perfect. So no flat depth again. Nothing tricky. Calculate those. Reset, and I will preview it. And there we go. And there again, you can see the bottom of those has that nice sharp V at the bottom. That is what you're shooting for when you're doing V carves. So I'm going to send this over to the Masso. We're going to carve the name and the dates. All right, got the 90-degree groovy Jenny loaded up. XYZ is set. Rewind, cycle start. Hey, if you haven't already did so, how about giving me a like real quick while you're thinking about it? And if you are new here and haven't subscribed yet, this will be a great chance to do that also. And if you feel like you're getting anything from my content, if you're learning anything about VCarve Pro or CNCs in general, and you feel like maybe you want to help support my channel, there's several ways you can do that. Number one, you could join a membership here on YouTube just by clicking the join button below, and you'll see your options there. You could also do a YouTube super thanks, or a buy me a coffee, or a Patreon, or use my Amazon storefront link in the description below. Anything you purchase through my storefront link, I get a very small commission off of that, but every little bit helps. I want y'all to notice how clean this Eastern Red Cedar carves. It's a soft wood and it's easy on your tools. Plus, it's just beautiful. But you can see how well and how sharp that carve is with that 60-degree groovy Jenny. Most of y'all probably already know, but for you new folks out there, I do sell sign blanks, 16-inch by 7 1/4 inch sign blanks of Eastern Red Cedar, and I have them available here on YouTube. There'll be a link for that in the description below. Man, that looks great. Get this out of the way. With my easy button here, available from Dash Made Woodwork on Etsy. I have a affiliate link in the description below. Get 10% off. I love that font. That looks perfect. By the way, this is the only paint I use. It's available in our Amazon storefront, link below in the description. Well, it was during this sanding that I kind of let my mind start wandering and started thinking of other things I would like to do to make this cross look a little better and last a little longer. And I decided I was going to bevel the edges, which I should have did that before I ever painted anything. But you know, hindsight's 2020. And I also did some other things to strengthen the cross. And anyway, you'll see in the video. But yeah, things kind of go different from here on out. Not really holding to the original plan, but it worked out great. So this is a first in my shop. I have chamfered the edges of these boards with my CNC using a 90-degree groovy Jenny. I've already made the pass because I was so nervous I didn't even hit record a while ago, but I'm going to rerun it just so y'all can see how simple this process really is. But first, let me show you how I did it in VCarve Pro. Very simple. I just set up a profile toolpath. I cut on the outside right. I didn't use any offset allowance. I wasn't really sure about that, but this worked out perfect. And I did it in one pass, and my cut depth was 0.10 using the 90-degree groovy Jenny. So that's how I did that. Now, let's go cut a chamfer. So I'm just going to rewind, cycle start. I'll try to follow it best I can from down here. I am very relieved because I was nervous as a cat. All right, gonna do the horizontal piece. So at this point, I come across a problem that I kind of had anticipated and just thought, well, you know, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Well, I have officially crossed the bridge now, so this out. But I had already thought about, you know, that I can't chamfer it all the way around this one, you know, like I did this one, because
I can't have a chamfer right here along that seam because that would look like crap. So what I've decided I'm going to do is I've made some little marks here right on the edge of where the bevel starts or ends, ever how you want to look at it. And I'm going to take that 90-degree groovy Junie over there to my router table, and I am going to route it on my router table by hand. So we'll see how that goes. The reason I didn't just do all the beveling on both boards with the router table, which would have been a lot easier, but I couldn't do that, or I didn't want to do that because of this, what I'm coming up on right here. I can't have a bevel
I've got a little dimple
along
right
where
there.
those two boards will meet up, because I can't have that on that seam. It just wouldn't look right.
There.
So I was thinking that maybe I could just do it all on the CNC and choosing my cuts and my bevels more carefully. But as it turned out, I ended up having to do it by hand anyway, and it turned out okay. But it was nice to finally try the beveling on the CNC, and I won't be afraid to do that in the future when it makes sense, you know.
So you can see the little dimple there. I'm going to start on the left of it just to be safe. Turn it around, do the same thing over here. There's my dimple. Don't want to go too far.
You'll see it, some of it splintering off here, and of course I went back later and sanded those bevels, make them smooth, and I ended up repainting the sides and the bevels anyway, so it turned out nice. And of course, all that tear out could have been avoided if I had used a climb cut instead of a conventional cut. But I was working from the back side of the bit, which I normally don't do, and that kind of threw me off, and I was going the wrong direction there. But, you know, live and learn. Almost nailed it. It'd be alright. Alright. I still got to figure out how to do the ends here. I may just use a regular chamfer bit on the ends, because it's got to be something that has a bearing, or I won't be able to do that. So let me put a new bit in the router table.
Raise it up just a hair. That'll work.
Got her done. So here's a quick update on what I've been doing. Last night I decided to reinforce this thing, since those boards are, you know, like 0.6 thick. I didn't want them to warp and bend over time, so I reinforced the back of them with some thicker cedar, and the customer wanted to be sure it had a stake to go in the ground, so I just included that in the reinforcement. I glued that all on there with Titebond 3. Got everything clamped up, but should be dry. Now I'm fixing to remove the clamps and flip it over, and I'll show you where we're at. So I decided to go ahead and paint the back of it just for extra protection, help it hold up longer. So got that all done, looks good. We'll flip it back over, do one final sanding, then clean it up and start applying the spar urethane. Well, I didn't get a video of it for some reason. I don't know what happened, but anyway, I got the first coat of spar urethane on there. Let that dry the rest of the day. I'll come out here probably late tonight and do a light sanding and put one more coat of spar urethane on there, and that'll be it. All right, finished product. I love that font. It just turned out perfect. Super happy with this. Got a 12-inch stake built in on the back. I'm on the bottom. On the back, reinforced and painted. This is ready for all the elements for a long time. Well, I hope I didn't make y'all too dizzy with all the plot changes. But if you don't take anything else from this video, just know this. You're not going to be able to advance your CNC game unless you're willing to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. This video proved that in spades. I had never tried to do beveling on the CNC. I had always thought about it, but you know, I have a router table. It's real easy and real fast to do it on. But in this case, I am glad that I at least tried it, and I know I can do it. It works fine, and I will do it again if the need ever arises. So it's always good to add something new to your skill set, and I feel pretty good about that. So that's all for this one. I will see y'all on the next video.